There was a young artist named Maya who lived in a small apartment on the edge of the city. Every morning, she would wake up before dawn, make herself a cup of coffee, and stand before a large blank canvas that leaned against her living room wall. She had been standing before that same canvas for 6 months. Not a single brushstroke marked its surface. Maya had dreamed of being a painter since she was 7 years old, but now, at 28, she found herself paralyzed by a fear she couldn't name. Every time she picked up a brush, her mind flooded with doubts. What if it wasn't good enough? What if people laughed? What if she poured her heart into something that amounted to nothing? So the canvas remained empty, and Maya remained stuck. One rainy afternoon, Maya's elderly neighbor, Mr. Chen, knocked on her door. He was carrying a small package wrapped in brown paper. "I found this while cleaning out my garage," he said with a gentle smile. "I thought you might like to have it." Inside was an old, battered journal filled with sketches and paintings. The pages were worn, the colors faded, but the work was breathtaking. "These are beautiful," Maya whispered. Mr. Chen nodded. "They were my wife's. She painted every single day for 40 years. Some paintings were masterpieces. Most were just practice, but she never let a day go by without creating something." He pointed to a particular page where the painting was smudged and clearly imperfect. This was one of her favorites, you know, not because it was perfect, but because it represented the day she stopped caring about perfection and started caring about expression. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Mr. Chen's wife, about those 40 years of daily creation, about the freedom of not needing to be perfect. The next morning, before she could talk herself out of it, Maya grabbed a brush and made a single mark on the canvas. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't planned. But it was there. She made another mark, then another. Some days she painted for hours. Other days she managed only 5 minutes before work. Some of her paintings were terrible. She would step back, laugh at the mess, and start again. But slowly, something shifted inside her. She wasn't painting to create masterpieces anymore. She was painting because it made her feel alive. Months passed. Maya's apartment became filled with canvases. Some good, most mediocre, a few surprisingly beautiful. She started sharing her work online, not for validation, but simply to document her journey. The response surprised her. People connected not with her best work, but with her honesty about the struggle. "I've been wanting to start writing for years," one person commented. "Your story gave me the courage to write my first terrible paragraph today." Another wrote, "I'm 53 years old, and I've always wanted to learn piano. I bought a keyboard today because of you." Maya realized something profound. Her fear of imperfection had been keeping her from the very thing that made life meaningful. It wasn't about being the best. It was about being brave enough to try. 1 year after making that first brushstroke, Maya received an email from a small gallery downtown. They had seen her work online and wanted to feature her in a group exhibition. Maya's hands trembled as she read the message. The old fear crept back in. What if people hated it? What if she wasn't ready? But then she remembered Mr. Chen's wife painting daily for 40 years, embracing imperfection. She remembered that empty canvas and the prison of perfectionism. She wrote back and accepted. The night of the exhibition, Maya stood nervously among her paintings. They weren't perfect. She could see every flaw, every questionable color choice, every amateur technique. But they were honest. They represented her journey from paralysis to action, from fear to courage. An older woman approached one of Maya's pieces, a chaotic explosion of colors titled Day One. She stood there for a long time, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she finally said to Maya. "I needed to see this. I've spent my whole life waiting to be ready, waiting to be good enough. Your work reminds me that starting imperfectly is better than never starting at all." That moment changed everything for Maya. She understood that her art had never been about her. It was about what happened when courage met vulnerability. It was about giving others permission to be imperfect, to be beginners, to be brave. Every person who has ever achieved anything remarkable started as a beginner. Every writer wrote terrible first drafts. Every musician played discordant notes. Every athlete fell down. Every entrepreneur failed. The only difference between those who achieved their dreams and those who didn't wasn't talent or luck or perfect conditions. It was the willingness to start before they were ready and continue even when it was hard. Maya kept painting. Some years later, she had her first solo exhibition. But what she was most proud of wasn't the recognition or the sales. It was the wall in her studio where she kept all her early imperfect work, including a photo of that first mark on that empty canvas. She kept them as a reminder that every masterpiece begins with a single imperfect step. She kept them as proof that the courage to be bad at something is the only path to ever being good at it. The truth is, we all have empty canvases in our lives. Dreams we've been staring at but haven't started. Books we want to write but haven't typed the first word of. Businesses we want to build but haven't taken the first step toward. Relationships we want to repair but haven't made the first call about. We wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect version of ourselves. But perfection is a mirage that keeps us standing still while our lives pass by. What if today was the day you made your first mark? What if you gave yourself permission to be a beginner, to be imperfect, to be scared, but do it anyway? Your first attempts don't have to be good. They just have to be. Because every expert was once a beginner who refused to give up. Every success story began with someone who was willing to look foolish. Every journey of 1,000 miles started with a single, uncertain step. The canvas of your life is waiting. Stop waiting for permission, for confidence, for the perfect conditions. They will never come. Start where you are, with what you have, as imperfectly as necessary. Because one day, you'll look back at that first messy brushstroke and realize it was the moment everything changed. It was the moment you chose courage over comfort, action over anxiety, becoming over being. Make your mark today. The world is waiting for what only you can create.